bigger problem in MS. So I've watched this over the years, and I have a different way of thinking about it. I think sometimes people have depression, and anybody can recognize that it's a depression. But I think sometimes people don't think of themselves as depressed. And so if you ask them if they're depressed, they don't think they are. They might say that they're really tired, and they might say, in fact, you'll say, are you depressed? And they'll say, no, I'm not. So are you irritable? And tired and cranky? And then, yeah, they're tired and cranky and irritable, but they don't have a sense of being depressed. So this is how I've come to think about it over the years. I call it the dime-a-day problem. The literature, I think, refers to it as demoralization. I call it the dime-a-day problem or depletion, and this is how it works. If living every day on Earth costs you X, living every day on Earth with MS, no matter what your condition is and no matter how well you are doing, living every day with MS is going to cost you a little bit more. So it doesn't have to cost you a huge amount. This is the leaky roof problem. You know, it doesn't have to cost you a whole lot. It can cost you a dime a day. And so you think about that and you think, yeah, it's a dime a day. Who cares? I mean, I'm not going to reorganize my life for a dime a day. But the problem with a chronic illness and the problem with MS is it's not a dime a day and then you're done. It's a dime every day. We got $100. And that is something to think about, but people don't think about it until it hits overdraft protection, you know, until the roof pays it. Because it's a dime a day. It's the same amount. And if it were taken out in one big chunk, you'd notice it, but because it comes at a dime a day, you don't. And so you don't fix it. You don't think about how to deal with it. You don't make the changes that you need to make to manage it until it really gets to be a problem. And what I find with people after 2 or 3 years is they can just hit the wall, and all of a sudden they don't know what hit them. And they say, I don't know why I'm so upset. I'm doing well. But oftentimes it's the dime a day problem. They just get depleted. And you know, one of the problems with MS is that there's a lot to cope with. I mean, they're not huge problems often, because the huge problems get dealt with, but they're little problems. And they can really add up, and you can get tired of dealing with all of it. So, how do you treat depression? Well, you figure out what kind of you got. You eliminate obvious causes, and if you're on a medication that's causing you, that might be causing you depression, you talk with your doctor about figuring that out, and they've taken a drug holiday and seen if that's what's causing it. There are antidepressant medications that are, for most people, pretty effective in dealing with a lot of the symptoms of depression, particularly irritability and sleep disturbance. And there's therapy that can help you untangle some of this stuff. You know, when people get really depleted, one of the things that happens, I think, is that they can't problem solve anymore. They're done. They're tired. They can't figure it out. And to be able to handle some of it off to somebody else and help them have them help you figure it out and untangle it can, I think, be really helpful. So, I think it's probably obvious that all of these problems interact with each other, and that you can't neatly separate them out. You know, I think one of the things that happens with MS is that your world can shrink because it gets harder to do things, and so you can have a little bit of a physical impairment. It makes it harder for you to do things. You do less, you get out less, you see your friends less, you're a little more isolated. And you're a little fatigued, and they all contribute to each other, and at the end of the day, one of the ways, for example, that you keep your mind sharp is that you keep using it. So being out and being challenged and finding your way around or reading books or going to movies, all of that kind of stuff challenges your brain and makes you use it. So that can kind of offset some of the cognitive issues that come up with MS. It doesn't cure them, but keeping everything active is really helpful, and all of these problems can combine to, in an additive way. I mean, I think the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Really reduce how you live your life and shrink your world. And I see that I didn't prove this very well, but okay. So what's the solution? You know, there are a lot of treatments for all of these things. There are treatments for fatigue, and there are treatments for cognitive problems, and there are treatments for depression. But what I find is that when you talk to people about it, you say, well, have you tried this or tried that? And they say, yeah, I tried it, but it didn't really help very much. Here's the thing. Lots of times, people start out here, and then they got MS, and they end up here. So when they think about a treatment for fixing any particular problem, they take a treatment, and they want to get back here. And if they get within 80% of where they started, they think that it was effective. But if they only get a 20% improvement, it doesn't feel like it really helped very much. I think, and I've been watching this for a long time, I think living with MS is like making a salad. It doesn't have one ingredient. It has a whole lot of different ingredients, and it's not a lot of one thing. It's a little bit of a lot of things. And so when you think about working with some of these problems, it's going to be a lot easier to find, what did I say here? A lot easier to find 10 solutions to give you an 8% improvement. So you might take a medication that helps a little bit, you might take exercise that helps some, you might move the washing machine and that helps some, you might change your work hours and that helps some. A bunch of little improvements, but they're additive. So if you have 10 improvements that help 8%, you're going to have a large improvement. But we don't tend to think about it that way. So I think we tend to want to we want a big solution that fixes the problem. And I think, frankly, with MS that you don't tend to have that. That you have to think small and look for a bunch of little solutions. So there are a lot of things that help, and I do think a bit. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. So start doing something. I don't think it matters a whole lot whether you run a bridge group or go to hydrotherapy. In and of itself, it's not going to turn your life around, but it's a step and it's a start, and these sorts of things are kind of additive. And so that's, I think, a strategy that I think about is a bunch of little things that start to gradually improve things. Okay, how did I do on time? I made it. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, you did really well. Thank you, Pat. Thanks so much. So